So, right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to .NET Morning Coffee. This is our sixth episode, and today we are going to talk about the recent updates, recent news in .NET world. And I think we can start from the Preview 5 because Preview 5 was launched probably a couple of weeks ago, and Microsoft released a couple of exciting things in this preview. So I couldn't say that these releases were really big and rich or rich of full of new features, full of new functionality, but still it's a nice improvement to upcoming release. So let's take a look at what was released in .NET in general. So not in ASP.NET Core, we will talk about that later. So just what was released in .NET 8. So first of all, Microsoft released a dedicated interface for adding some metrics capabilities, metrics and instrumentation to your code. You can easily register metrics interfaces in your DI by calling add metrics extension, and then you can ingest metrics factory into your code and create some metrics. So this is really nice because having something that is a must in almost each of the application, having a standardized way of doing this, I mean, that's really cool. So what else? Source links now is a part of .NET SDK, so that actually means nothing for additional from the additional API perspective. It just means that if you do the debugging of your application and you need to go deeper, you need to go to the source code of .NET SDK, it would be easier to do that starting from .NET 8 release, which is cool. Also, new .NET libraries and libraries analyzers will come. So different flavors of these analyzers. There are a few things related to self-contained applications that we can produce through the .NET SDK. There are some changes in the CLI in the command line interface. Some adjustments to ASP.NET Core Docker images, and this one probably my favorite in this preview is related to dynamic profile guided optimizations. Now this feature will be enabled by default. So actually dynamic profile guided optimizations existed for a while, but probably you guys vast majority of you just didn't use that because you had explicitly enabled this feature. So now it will be enabled by default, and Microsoft promises the improvements of the performance in almost all the applications, and you may get 5% of the improvements, or you may get 500% of the improvements. And in average, Microsoft promises 15% of the performance improvements, which is still really good number. And if you are not familiar with that concept, with that idea, you can follow this link. There is an in-depth conversation between Microsoft engineers who explain what is dynamic PGO and how it was introduced in .NET. So basically, this is the way of optimizing the code produced by JIT compiler based on the execution passes of your application. So runtime will be able to analyze the passes of your code and make some optimizations based on that. So for example, 80% of the time your code is executed in a particular way. So this is a good starting point to make some optimizations, to redo some JIT compiled code and make it more efficient. So really nice, cool feature, and really glad to see it enabled by default. That means this is something not experimental, but something that is ready for production, and we can just enjoy this performance boost almost for free. Well, at least we wouldn't have to do anything. And there are a set of optimizations related to like the code produced by JIT, which is also cool. So again, nothing really large, nothing really huge here, but just an evolution of .NET 8 release. Okay, what else was released in these previews? There are also some new features came to .NET 8 in ASP.NET Core area. So yeah,
in
Arthur?
ASP.NET Core area, and also many major updates as well as for .NET 8 preview, but we have some updates related to improving debug experience. ASP.NET Core team was added debug customization attribute to HTTP request, HTTP response, HTTP context to make finding important information more easier. Yeah, if you take a look on screenshots, we can see the difference between .NET 7 and .NET 8, and as we can see, instead of expanding each object, yeah, we can see all the operate information without expanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What
yes,
else?
definitely. The second picture looks much more better. Yes, so it's much easier to understand what's going on with your HTTP requests here.
Yeah, agree. The next updates related to server and middlewares were added a few interfaces. Yeah, the first one related to exposing detailed timestamp information. Yeah, about request processing if you use HTTPC server. And the next one interface for me, it's maybe more useful for us. It's exception handler.
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, because we can register as many as we want exception handlers to handle our unexpected behavior, and it will use chain of calls. Yeah, it means that if some handler return true, it means that exception was handled. The next exception handlers won't be executed.
So this is something that you could probably see in almost almost each API, right? That you created. So you probably created some kind of middleware responsible for handling the exceptions in a standardized way. So now you can just register a particular exception handler for particular exception and. So the middleware, my understanding, the middleware, standardized middleware that will call just your exception handlers is already in place. And all that you have to do is to concentrate on the logic of handling these exceptions.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes. The next update was related to signal error. Was added a new feature. The name is Seamless Reconnect. The aim of the feature is to reduce downtime of clients. Yeah, when the connection issue happened, it was used buffering on the client and server side, and when the connection established, we don't lost data between server and client. Some updates on the Blazor side was added a new template project and some improvements regarding routing, interactivity of individual components, and some improvements in packaging of WebSeal file. Because as far as I understand, I read some article regarding it, some customer reporting that they cannot use DLL.
Yeah, well, that was, I mean, that really looks ugly when you use when you create a web application and when you navigate to a particular page and you see that DLLs are downloaded in your browser. That looks really ugly. Yeah, very strange, because this is not the way how web application should look like. Yeah, so now we have this WebSeal
Mhm.
packaging. Yeah, and my understanding that the extensions of all the files will be WASM, just WASM.
Yes.
Okay.
The next update related to API outering was added supporting of generic attributes. Generic attributes was introduced in C# 11, and
Yeah.
now for annotation our API to see what our, for example, API return, we can, instead of type of, we can use generic attributes. And the next feature was related AOT, was added supporting as parameters attribute. It means that our parameters will be bind from query or body without any problems, because some compile code generation will create appropriate code to bind these parameters. And the last topic was related to authentication and authorization. Was removed dependency to identity server from SPA project templates and added some analyzer. Yeah, not so big updates in this area.
Yeah, again, just cool improvements. And they also really glad to see that they proceed working on a native AOT for ASP.NET Core. Would be really interesting to see what we will get at the end, and what we will be able to put in our Lambdas or Azure functions, what functionality will be available, what will work, what not. So I don't believe that MVC will work, but let's see what will work at the end. Okay, cool. So what else? Yeah. So in June, I know that we are mostly C# developers, but in June there was F# conference. It was like a pure online community-driven conference, and in general, the way how Microsoft approaches the F# language, it's mostly like a community-driven language. However, this one is still alive, and a lot. Well, there are some fans of this language, and I know that Microsoft also like uses F# as a kind of playground, and some of the features that were launched in F# first, then came to the C#. So there was a conference, F# conf, with some nice speakers, and if you are really interested in functional programming style on .NET, so I think it's worth to check the sessions and find something really interesting for you among them. So yeah, for some reasons it's not secure, so probably they forgot to refresh the certificate. Strange. Okay.
I've tried in the past.
F#?
I tried, yeah, I've tried in the past C#, sorry, C#, F#, of course, but actually without any success. You know, I like some idea which is present in this language, right? But you have to change your mind to, you know, write something beautiful, you know, in the F#, or at least do more practice, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if you started from C#, probably it's not so easy to switch
It is
your
big
mind.
change.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a really big change. But again, so why I like F# and why I like the fact that it exists. First, it's fully community driven, so vast majority of the improvements happening there is driven by community PRs. That's really cool. And again, the fact that some experimental features came first to F# and then were migrated to C#. For example, source generators. So initially, something similar appeared in F#, and then it was like revised, and this feature was revised and moved to C#.
One more
So
interesting note about F#. The maintainer of the biggest community of F#, it is a guy from EPAM. I forgot his name, but I remember that he's from EPAM.
Cool. That's cool. Guys, if you know him, please share his name in our chat. Cool. So what else interesting happen? Okay, so Alexander, I think it's your blog related to AI, right?
Yeah, okay. Open the first link.
Okay, let's take a look what we can see
What
here.
is this article about? So the guys who is writing this article, those guys who is writing this article, they wanted to share us some experience how to use some AI helpers in the real development process. It is not a super big article with some interesting notes. What I understood from it, the point number one, the ChatGPT, it doesn't matter, any AI helpers still not super good with code generation. And the more than half of percent of result it is they didn't receive they actually wanted to receive. It generate the code, it kind of works, but it is not that they actually expect to have, right?
Yeah,
Some of
it's
them
not
works
something that
more good.
you can just copy paste to production, right?
Correct. And some of them works more correct, some of them not. Uh, but what is interesting here is that all these tools super good with the documentation and explanation. For example, you can ask any ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot, Bing, and so on to help to explain something or write some article about it and maybe refactor something, and it works. It works kind of perfect, right? What else interesting that um, ChatGPT and Bing, they use data that you share with this utility to train its own model. It means that you not allow it to share some sensitive data with these helpers. Uh, Copilot, no. You can, free use GitHub Copilot without any doubt about security, and it is interesting. I didn't know it before I read it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, they
this article doesn't look like a real advertisement. It's just
yeah,
some tips, some notes from real life
experience sharing
experience.
and there's
Yeah, it's a really experience sharing. Why I like this article is that just they are not trying to sell you the AI as a tool that could increase your performance like 2 times, 3 times, or like 50%. Um, there are some like real advices that you can use in your day-to-day life, like for example steps for generating unit tests or documentation, or just generating
yeah,
a kind of cron expression, like something small, but something that you could actually find on Stack Overflow or any other source. But because it, for example, if we talk about Copilot X, it will be like right in your IDE, and it's just easier to talk to this Copilot instead of Googling, right? Because this
right,
helper
right,
is already here. It's in place.
right. Maybe it is convenient. I didn't try it in the real life, personally, but maybe it is really convenient.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one
Next
is,
topic. Yeah,
yeah.
again about AI and
I,
what is
yeah. I mean,
happening. The companies keep adding AI functionality into their editors
IDEs.
and
Yeah.
yeah, ID. So in here it is JetBrains try to introduce this AI, as they call it, AI assistants, right, into their IDs. Can you scroll a bit down, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
look, it looks like a chat, right? And the right side of IDE, or you will see the nice chat window with your assistant. And as usual, what JetBrains does, it has a kind of deep integration to their editor, and you can press Alt Enter, I suppose, and it will suggest you some activities which is based on AI assistance. For example, you can ask assistance to explain the selected piece of code, what it does, and it just write you article or some sentences with explanation what this code does. You can ask refactor this code, right? Or yeah, and so generate something for you, and so on and so on. I've tried this stuff because it is EAP, right? I can try it. so I asked the assistants to refactor some piece of code for me. He did it, right? But it doesn't, I mean, the unit test after that didn't pass. So it kind of worked, but with some exception.
So it actually broke your code.
Yeah. Did you ask it to fix your unit tests?
No, no. I just closed this AI assistance window and continued.
Okay, interesting, really interesting experience.
Yeah,
Cool.
the funny thing that it's just being taught on the code that we as a community written for this period of time, and we don't like this code.
Yeah. And the
Okay.
similar thing, right? Yeah, LinkPad, assistant.
LinkPad, super like this small ID, right? And looks like they also would like to have this, super popular feature, AI assistants. But to have it, you have to have additional license and maybe pay additional money to make it works. I'm not sure because I currently I don't have a license. Maybe in the future I will have.
Yeah.
Maybe Alexei, you have.
No, actually, I tried to put there. So it requires a token. So and I got a token from like my personal free account of GPT chat, and it seems like it doesn't work for LinkPad. So you need to kind of paid version of it in order to make it work. And so it just didn't work for me for some reasons. So guys, maybe
Strange actually.
Yeah,
because I thought
strange.
that commercial version LinkUpad has to support it natively, but it is kind of two level of paid
purchasing.
purchasing. Yeah, right.
Yeah, strange. Yeah. Anyway, it's cool that this AI comes to each and every EDE. So let's see how it influence on our lives. Let's see.
Let's see.
Okay. Again, this is something that you, Alexander, probably will share, right? So, news related to your favorite Avalonia.
Oh, yeah, super excited about this news, right? So, few days ago, Avalonia released the version 11 at this very big change for Avalonia because now they support all possible platforms. I think that it's all possible, right? Maybe it
So
is.
this one
It
is it related to recently announced glasses from Apple?
right, correct. It is because they changed how their render works, and now it can work almost everywhere, right? Now they support Windows platform, Linux platform, iOS platform, and of course Android. As a bonus, you have a Blazor browser support as a WASM. It can be compiled into WASM and run in the browser. And some news comes from community, and it's also possible to run it on Tizen. Tizen it is
Tizen OS.
OS
This is
for Samsung television, Samsung TV.
for TVs, yeah.
Right. This new version also has some new controls like a drop-down button. Has native support for Team Manager. Right. Has IoT support, which is also interesting because in the previous version it was absolutely not possible to trim your assembly and build it in with IoT support. But now they reworked entire framework to make it works, right? They fixed all links, and now it is possible to work with IoT and trimming. And for example, in the previous, they released just a Hello World application in the release build. The size of this image was about 85 megabytes or something or so, not super small. With enabled IoT,
Not small
the
at all,
size is
yeah.
the size is about 70 megabytes. It is it's a big change. Also, they started to introduce the new version of documentation. Actually, it is a third version of documentation for Avalonia, right? But now it looks more or less good, and and even the styling for this documentation looks good. They introduced a new wizard for how to create your project. Now it basically by default it suggests you to create multi-targeted, multi-platform application, right? Yeah, I hope if you are guys not familiar with this framework, you have to do it. Yeah, we'll try.
So this one actually looks even more mature than MAUI framework that is officially supported by
Much
Microsoft.
more mature.
Yeah.
It's already 11 version, guys.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so
At
the
least the
Blazor
number of
essentials.
versions, it's more mature, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one, lots news from my side. I decided to include this stuff here. It just a number of articles. It's pretty small amount of articles. They're really short, but they has some very nice and necessary information how to start with Blazor. It covers this core part of the Blazor framework, routing, what is components, how to work with components, what is the modules, and so on. It is super nice article, scope of articles.
If you want to just to do a quick
Right.
start with Blazor, you can go just through this 2-3 minutes articles, and then you will be up to speed. At least you will be able to create something that is working. So actually, to be honest, I changed my opinion about Blazor some time ago. I think Blazor is a really nice tool when you need to create something that is some application with some UI to visualize something in for example, in a grid or something like that, and you don't have too much time on that, and have mostly .NET skills in your tool set. So you can use Blazor and you can quickly create a really nicely looking application that you will be able to deliver really fast, much faster than if you start learning some heavyweight UI frameworks like React or Angular. So of course, if you are already familiar with them, yeah, so probably the performance wouldn't be so different. But yeah, so if you are just a mostly .NET engineer with some understanding of how the web applications work, then Blazor is a really nice tool, especially if you wanted to build something for internal usage, some admin tools. Yeah, for a customer-facing application, probably that's not the best choice. Well, it depends, but in vast majority of the cases, I don't think it would be a good solution. But for internal apps, where the the load time is not so critical because your admins can wait for a second.
Yeah, I agree. And the also important stuff that now Blazor, I don't know, Blazor area has a pretty libraries with components. It is very important because you just can start there and use this, and you don't need to any kind of styling from scratch. It just works.
Yeah, it just works exactly. So, and more is coming. For example, there will be a quick grid component released in .NET 8. It has been already announced by Microsoft. So that's good. That's really cool that we will have out of the box such a powerful component. Okay, so the last one, we are almost out of time, but let's try to go quickly through that. So there was a several days event which Microsoft called Hack Together. It was about Microsoft Teams applications. So during the couple of days, Microsoft just showed how to build different flavors of the applications, including Microsoft Teams bots, which might be really useful. I know you, Artur, did some dive into that area. Maybe you can just quickly explain and show us some demo.
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen. I will try to explain.
Yeah, I mean that's really nice that we have this Teams ecosystem available for developers. We can do some interesting things like, for example, announcing new builds. We can connect this with probably with GitHub and I don't know, react faster on newly created PRs and so on.
Oh, yeah, I've a little bit played with Teams bot and created some to-do item bot that enable us to create items, delete, add, and update. As you can see, we receive some adaptive card where I can choose any action like remove item from our list, create, and update. Yeah. All this stuff in Teams, you don't need to go to other website to create maybe admin panel. Yeah, this is the same as for Blazor. You just can do it here without any problem. In addition to it, you have a notification from Teams. You can recognize who is call some actions. To achieve it in the event, guys introduced some new template for Visual Studio where you can create a Teams bot. To apply it, you need just to go to Visual Studio installer and under the ASP.NET and web development, choose Microsoft Teams development tool and activate it. After it, you will be able to create a new project. Yeah. Here. Here. And in the list of the bots, we can see different type of bots, notification, command, workflow, and different and other stuff like tabs and message extensions. If you choose any bot, for example, command bot, will be created solution, and at the beginning we will see the guide. How we can develop and test our solution locally. We can achieve it. In this case, you don't need to have Azure account. You can connect your bot service with your local machine via tunneling functionality, just to download a ngrok tool and run this command. After that, if you go to Teams toolkit and click prepare Teams app dependencies, bot service will be created. And as a result, if you click run your application, you will be able to debug your solution, but it means that your bot will be connected to real Teams. Yeah, and you can test it is working or not, your solution. And as a result, unfortunately, I cannot show you local development because it's a peer-to-peer tool and it's rejected on our side. But locally, I've tested the solution. It's good. It looks very good and easy for development. But for deployment, again, you can just click provision in the cloud. Again, on my side, it's not working. I need to, in this case, to deploy to Azure, we can reuse existing bicep templates. As you can see, from scratch was created some bicep files, and to deploy it to Azure, you can just write several commands. Yeah, just to create resources, pre-deploy, and deploy web application. Web application is your bot. As you can see, we have some controller, bot controller that contains post method. After that, Teams bot will redirect to appropriate command. For example, here we have just hello world command. Yeah, to create your own command handler, you should initialize trigger for which word will be trigger your command. And Teams will redirect to this command and return adaptive card. Adaptive card is just JSON object with some fields like text box, actions. When you click, you will redirect, for example, to appropriate URL, etc. Unfortunately, we have limit of time, and I cannot show you all stuff regarding it. But at the end, as I said, it was deployed to Teams, and as you can see, we can use it to apply to the team. Major topic. You can do it via manage your apps and upload app to your teams. As you can see, we have some choices, but for custom use, you can choose upload a custom app and choose manifest. Again, perhaps the issue on my side, and I cannot create all manifest via Teams toolkit, but you can do it manually because all necessary stuff exists in template. You just need to do some adjustments. As you can see, we have template where you should pass the bot ID, where the scope of using this bot, because we can not only to your own chat, you can add to group chat, to team, and what commands are supported. These adjustments, with these adjustments, you can create zip archive and deploy to your, for example, team.
Well, that's really cool. That's really exciting because you can create some bots. You can add them into your chat, into your Teams group, and bring some values to your projects. That looks really nice.
Yes.
And
yes.
the way how it works seems like the way how you can make it work, and it's like so seamless. Everything is available right from the Visual Studio. Microsoft did a great job to make it available for the developers.
And I'd like notice one major thing that the standard part of communicate between teams and bot service, you should create bot service on Azure. But where your application is hosted, it depends on you. You can choose any type of hosting. I mean, Azure Function, Lambda, EC2, Web App, or as I said, your personal computer,
machine,
with tuning functionality. And this communication between bot service and Teams, it's free. You don't need you won't pay.
So you pay only for computed resources.
Yes,
That's
cool. Yes.
So there is a question from Alexei. What is used as a storage? Where did you store these to-do items?
Only
just in memory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was because, in memory to do this.
But you can use database. It's
of course, yeah.
It doesn't matter because we can host and use anything. Yeah. So thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Artur. Really exciting demo. So I think that's it that we wanted to share today. So let me duplicate the link to our list. Thanks everyone for attending our session. So please put your questions if you have anything, if you want to discuss anything, and see you next time. Have a good rest of your day.
Yep. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.